all timed so that it wouldn't happen on his presidency. It was really sort of the ultimate snub, and Ronald Reagan very graciously, as I recall, sent Carter over to greet the released hostages.
That's right.
One of the strangest facts I read poring over this moment in a motorcade was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a taxi apparently mistakenly got in the motorcade. And you saw the motorcade coming down with a very distressed taxi driver in the middle of it, unable to get out.
To satisfy my little piece of minutia here, this is apparently the Obama car. This is the new limousine that Barack Obama will have, taken apart by the Secret Service piece by piece to ensure that there are no bugging devices in it, then reassembled. And eventually there will be a fleet of 4 of these. Whenever the president travels, one of these gets flown overseas, and they use these cars wherever he may be.
So the seal has recently been placed on it?
Yeah.
They're going at a pretty good clip down Pennsylvania.
They are. And that shot you can see, there's a wide shot of Pennsylvania Avenue as this motorcade proceeds to the Capitol. When they arrive, the 2 presidents, the outgoing and the president-elect, are put in a holding room for some period of time while everyone gets arranged on the podium. We have actually a minute-by-minute tick-tock, essentially, as to how this all proceeds. The Supreme Court now down at the Capitol, arriving as we speak. Cabinet designees being announced and seated on the podium. The Senate will go into session this afternoon after the luncheon, which follows the inauguration. There is a luncheon attended by the new president. Barack Obama will take George Bush down to the helicopter. George Bush will depart for Texas, actually go out to Andrews Air Force Base, and then fly from Andrews Air Force Base for the last time on that plane, which is not called Air Force One because President Bush is no longer president. So it's not called Air Force One as it takes him back to Texas. It's called Special Air Mission 2800. They're going by us right now, actually, here. We get a chance to look out and see them. But after that, after he escorts President Bush out to the East Front and he leaves for Texas, he goes in and has a luncheon. And after that luncheon, the Senate will go in session today, and the Senate will actually confirm the nominations of 6 or 7 of his cabinet appointees. One that they sort of expected would be confirmed today, Hillary Clinton, but that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Senator John Cornyn of Texas, Charlie, is going to object to having that voted on today. He still has some concerns about the Clinton Foundation. He wants some more disclosure, more transparency. All this means in practice is that this will be held over for a day. He can hold it up for a day, but they will then have a roll call vote tomorrow, and Senator Clinton is likely to be confirmed by an overwhelming margin. Only 1 vote against her in the committee.
But there will be a number of cabinet appointees actually approved today, including Janet Napolitano, who will be the new Secretary of Homeland Security. There's one cabinet member, as I think everybody knows, being held over. Robert Gates is the Secretary of Defense, and he's actually not attending the ceremonies today just for this continuity of government. Everybody is there in case anything catastrophic were to happen. He is there to maintain the continuity of government. He's at a U.S. military installation outside Washington. And there's one other cabinet member who gets held over for just 1 day, and that is the Director of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, and he basically stays in place for 24 hours just to oversee the security operation for the inauguration.
And we've been talking so much about security today, Charlie. The Department of Homeland Security did put out a bulletin last night about a potential threat from some terrorists based in Somalia. They put out a bulletin from the DHS and the FBI. They say it's of limited specificity and uncertain credibility, but they were concerned about this group in Somalia.
Even while Washington celebrates, there is security to worry about worldwide.
I keep thinking back, it has been 2 years coming up in February since Barack Obama in Springfield announced that he was going to run for president, saying he supposed there was a certain measure of audacity in his decision to do so. Saying, too, he thought that Abraham Lincoln would see the irony in the man who had won the Senate seat that he lost, walking up onto that podium today to be inaugurated.
And when he walks up to that podium, he will put his hand on the same Bible that Abraham Lincoln used in 1861. First president to do so since then.
I remember talking about the long campaign that he went through. The last time I had a chance to interview him and making small talk afterwards, I said to him, what's the one thing about campaigning now that you're elected that you miss the least? And he said, packing. Packing and unpacking. I hate suitcases, he said. And I said, you got one blue blazer that just works for everything? And he said, yep.
Well, you know, also for at least 4 years, he's not going to have to pack himself once.
That's exactly right.
You know, I did notice the difference last week when I spoke with the president-elect from the campaign. He was a much less harried, much more rested person. And just think about it. He's had the chance, because he's obviously was away from his family so much during the campaign for the last couple of months. For the first time in those 2 years, he's been able to live with his family, sleep at home every night.
You see him there pulling in over the security barricades in front of the Capitol, coming up in the East Front, on the opposite side of the Capitol from where he will be inaugurated. George and I were both remarking, Diane, and I think it's true. There's just something. This city is so majestic every day, and it does give you chills, but there's something about this day when the buildings look a little brighter. It just looks, it's beautiful.
Yes, the Capitol sitting there. The designer of Washington said that this hill was a pedestal waiting for a monument. It has its monument.
I grew up in the city, and it was a privilege to do so. And this is particularly when there is a change in parties, when one party is ceding power to the other. There is also a majesty to this day, and as I said, this day being the hallmark of the democracy.
Inside...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say it. Inside, there is a presidential room.
He will go there right after the inauguration and sign whatever executive orders he needs to sign, most of which involve those who will have control of the various cabinet departments until the people can be...
Basic housekeeping just to get the government up and running.
But those are his first official acts as president, and if there are any executive orders to be signed, he will do it then. But I gather nothing significant to be done today, George?
From the transition aides, no major policy executive orders today, but expect a lot of work the rest of this week, starting tomorrow on Iraq, on Guantanamo, and of course on the economy.
There are some who had anticipated perhaps he would sign an executive order today expanding federal involvement in stem cell research, rescinding, in effect, the Bush administration orders, but that's apparently not going to...
Still in the works, but we're told not today.
Right. It is relatively, once we begin the ceremony for the inauguration, it's a relatively simple ceremony. There are a number of musical contributions. Aretha Franklin is going to sing My Country 'Tis of Thee. There's a magnificent quartet which will involve Yo-Yo Ma and Itzhak Perlman playing an original composition by John Williams, who has won so many Oscars, been nominated for so many Oscars. He won't conduct, but he will be there to hear his composition played, and it's an air on "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple," the great Shaker hymn that is part of Aaron Copland's Appalachian Spring. Here's the mayor.
Ray Nagin, New Orleans.
By the way,